Hi, everyone. I'm Dinah, and I will be hosting today's live training session. I just wanted to check and see if you can actually hear and see me. All I need are a few communications through the chat window just to confirm that you can see and hear me, and then we're good to go. Okay, wonderful. I've got a few comments. Thank you, Lori and Jane and Rhonda, for commenting and letting me know. I know that there's a possibility that some people may not hear me, and you might need to check your web browser. But as long as I have a few people that can see and hear me, then I will go ahead and get started. Okay, wonderful. Well, again, my name is Dinah. I am going to be guiding you through today's webinar training, live training on how to use Easily. So thank you so much in advance for taking the time to join us here today. Now, I have a colleague with me here today. Her name is Latasha. She will be in the chat window, and she will be monitoring any comments that come through. So if you'd like to say hello, go ahead and say hello. Hi, Latasha. Thank you, Latasha. Now, another thing that I'd like to address are just a few housekeeping items on using today's Crowdcast platform for today's live training. You'll see just underneath the video window below that there is an area for questions and answers. If you go ahead and click on that link, that is a great place for you to put any questions that you might have as we walk through today's live training. This is a good spot because sometimes people like to use the comments section, but that comments section, sometimes questions can get lost in there. So a great place to put comments in there and communicate with fellow attendees. But if you have any questions and you want to make sure it absolutely gets addressed, then the questions and answers section is a great place to go ahead and put that. If we can't answer your question here today, we'll do our best to get an answer for you and come back right to the same page here, and we will go ahead and post a response there for you. Next to the Q&A section, you'll see that there's a link to polls. Now, that link for the polls is a great opportunity for you to tell me a little bit more about yourself. If you go ahead and click on that poll, you'll see that there are two poll questions. There is a place where you can tell me a little bit more about yourself in terms of whether or not you're an educator or a professional, an entrepreneur, small business owner, whether you're in the nonprofit space, K-12 space. Go ahead and answer that for me. Thank you so much for those of you who are already responding. You guys are really quick and fast. Thank you. So it looks like we have some people from marketing, sales, business, also quite a few people from the K-12 space. So it looks like we have some educators on our call today. And then also below that, if you can tell me a little bit more about your experience with Easily. I know some people are completely new to Easily, have never used it before, and this is really why you're probably here, so that's great. Go ahead and let me know, but I know that sometimes you also get people who are fairly new to Easily, but have used it a little bit and just want a little bit more training. So if you can let me know, that would be great. If we have any expert users, let me know as well, and feel free to make any comments or suggestions in the chat window in terms of how you've used Easily and any recommendations that you have. That's always good to learn from one another. So awesome, thank you so much. Okay, so with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my browser window, and we will launch right into Easily and start to discuss how you can start using Easily. So while I start to move over to my browser window, one thing that you can do for me is in the chat window, can you tell me what type of visual or infographic you're looking to create? And just let us know, because we're always wondering, what your ideas are, how you plan to use Easily, and if it's something that we can help you out with, we'd love to make any comments about it. So go ahead and start to put in your comments in that window, and I will move over to my browser window here, and then we'll get started. Okay. All right. So while I did that, it does look like I've seen some people put some comments in. So thank you so much. As I take a look at a few of those, as you know, quite a few comments have come in. Looks like Tracy's looking to use it for maybe some elementary student projects in science, social studies. Great. It looks like you're going to cover all subject areas. Jane is looking to maybe use it in some lessons that you might be creating as an instructional designer. So that's interesting. That's great. And that's really where I've used infographics and visual representations of information that I'm looking to communicate is really through my trainings and e-learning experiences. Okay, it looks like some people are looking to use it for maybe an annual report on employee training metrics. So that might be maybe some internal documentation that you're looking to communicate in a visual way. Wonderful. Okay, and it looks like we may even have a student who might be looking to use it for maybe presentations, projects, or assignments. So wonderful. Thanks for sharing. It's always good to know how you plan on using Easly. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So you'll see here that this is just a brief representation of how you can get started with Easly. We are going to go ahead and launch into Easly shortly. But if you're not familiar with what Easly is, it is an online web design tool that allows you to represent your ideas and communicate your ideas in a visual way. Now, a lot of times people think of infographics, of course, but if you think about infographics and what you see in your life on a daily basis, you'll know that there is a lot of information that is being represented in a visual way. And it may not be a full page infographic. It may just be, you know, small aspects of a document that you might see, maybe a brochure or something that comes in the mail that is being represented in a visual way. And so Easly is that design tool that allows you to create these visual communications in a way that doesn't really require you to have any design skills or background or training in it. So it makes it very accessible for any user that just needs to start communicating visually. Now with Easly, we will provide you with access to an area where you can browse and select templates, or you can even start with a clean canvas. But our design tool allows you to drag and drop items into your canvas and into your visual so that it makes it very easy for you to customize and make it your own. From Easly, you also have the ability to save and share your visualizations either through email, social media, a web browser. For our educators who might be using the tool in the classroom with your students, or maybe your students are using it for a project, it does allow them to go ahead and present it right from Easly, the tool itself. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of what Easly is, and let's go ahead and launch into it. Okay, so here is the homepage for Easly. If you haven't created an online account, you can certainly sign up for free. You'll see that there's this yellow button that allows you to sign up for free. The free version of Easly allows you to use all of the design tools and features, of course, but please note that there is a pro version that is available, and you will gain access to more objects and templates. Now, I am already going to log into my account here, and note that really the power of Easly comes with the pro account, and of course you'll have access to more templates and more objects to work with, which makes it very, very user friendly. Of course, you always have the ability to upload your own images, whether you have a free account or a pro account, and I'll show you how you can do that, of course. But let's go ahead and log in, and I'll start to work with the platform. Okay. All right, so I'm going to log in, and once you log into your account, you'll see that there is a image carousel that contains all of the visuals that you go ahead and create. Now, this is a great place, of course, to save all of your visuals so you can always access them and come back to them. But I also recommend that anything that you find, a template, or if you find another public visual that you like and you'd like to use maybe down the road or down the future or in the future, and you don't want to have to search for it again, save it, and then you'll be able to keep it in your visuals library so that you can work with it in the future. And so this visuals library is a great place to be able to access those very easily, whether it's in 2 weeks or if it's in 6 months or if it's tomorrow. But of course, this is where all of your own creations will also live. If you scroll below this, you'll see that you have access to over 2 million visuals, public visuals. If you'd like, you can certainly go ahead and make your visuals public, and you'll be able to go ahead and access them, and others will be able to access them and work with those as templates. But if you have to search for a particular type of template, or if you're looking for a certain type of template that covers a certain category, what I'd like to point out is on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's an area to search. So you can put in some keywords in there and find some templates or public visuals that have been created that might pertain to the topic that you're working with, or a certain type of infographic that you're looking to create. You also have the ability to choose by category, and you can't see it right now. I have my drop down, but when you walk into the product, you'll see that when you click on that, you'll get a drop down menu, and you can select a category either by marketing or by process, technology, or a timeline, and this will allow you to go ahead and narrow down all of the visuals that are available. For the pro users, once you go ahead and launch into the design tool, you'll also be able to access additional templates that have been professionally designed that you can select. Now, some of you may be interested in just starting from a clean canvas, and that's perfectly fine. There is this blue button here, and this is just a start fresh canvas. It's empty. If you launch into it, you'll see that you'll have a few instructions here on how to get started, but you can easily clear all of the items either by deleting them, selecting the objects on the canvas. You'll see that I can go ahead and start to delete this, but really the quickest way is to go to the black and white banner at the very top, and you'll see that there is a drop down that will allow you to clear your canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that canvas, and you'll see that I have a blank canvas here that I can work with. I also want to point out that you can resize your canvas depending on the size of the image that you're looking to work with. So you can go ahead and make that adjustment, and you can do it as you're designing or at the very beginning. I recommend, of course, knowing what type of size you're looking to work with and making the adjustment in the beginning rather than having to adjust it later, but you can certainly adjust it down the road. Now, another place to access those templates, once again, if you need to browse through them once you're in the design tool, is by clicking on the templates button. This templates button will allow you to launch into the image carousel for all of the professionally designed templates. You'll see that if you have a pro account, you will gain access, of course, to some additional professionally designed templates. You'll also have the opportunity to browse through all of the templates by category once again. So if you see here, you'll see that you can browse all of the resume templates, a timeline template, a template that maybe shows a process, or maybe some health templates. I'm going to go ahead and click on health, and I'll just browse through all of the health templates that are available. Now, all you need to do is drag and drop any of the templates onto your canvas if you're looking to work with those. So again, all I did was locate the template and drag and drop it onto my canvas. Now, those same steps are needed in order to be able to add objects to your canvas. So let's go ahead and showcase a few things here, and then I'll show you how you can add additional objects. So this is an existing template that I pulled in. Again, this is a template that's available in the Pro version, but you'll see here that I can go ahead and select any of the text items. And once you select an object or you select a text, you will get a menu that pops up, and it's in this gray and white banner. Now, whatever is available in the gray and white banner based off of the object or the text that you select is what's available in terms of being able to customize that selection. So for this particular text, you'll have a variety of different tools, and this is for all text that you add. You can go ahead and clone the text. So now I've selected the clone button, and I now have duplicated that text. I'll go ahead and just delete that for now. All I need to do is select the object, hit delete, or you can select the object and hit the trash button in the gray and white banner, and this will allow you to also remove it from your canvas. Now you can also bold the text, italicize it, underline it. You can add a shadow to it as well. So you have a few options and design options that you are accustomed to when working with some design elements. Now you can also position the text in objects. You'll see that you could go ahead and move it to the back. So once I did that, it may be a little bit hard for you to see through the window, but you'll see that this has been placed right behind the graph image of my infographic, but I can always move it forward once again. I'll do another example here, maybe in front of this gray area. I'll go ahead and move it to the back. You'll see that I've moved it to the back, and I can move it back to the front. So you have the ability to play around with that. Now you can also change the opacity. So let's go ahead and work with another item. You can of course do it with your text, but let's go ahead and do it with something else. So let's take this clipboard, and you'll see that we can change the opacity of this object. And this is helpful, of course, depending on whether or not you're looking to maybe put an overlay on an object. So you'll see here, if I want to go ahead and do an overlay, that makes it a little bit easier to see. Okay. Okay, let's work with something else now. Let's go ahead and go back to this text here, and you'll see that you can change the color of the text. So you'll see here that you can choose from the variety of colors that are available, but note that if you click on this More button, you are also able to customize it based off of any color codes that you need to work with. So if you have a set color code that you need to use for your company or your style guide, then you can go ahead and enter that in and apply it. So you're not limited to just the colors that are available in this grid. You can certainly go ahead and customize that. Okay. In terms of the text, you can align it either left, center, right, depending on how you need it to appear on your canvas. And then I also want to point out that with the text, you will have access to a variety of different texts and fonts that are available to you with the Pro version. So you'll see here with the Pro version, you'll have many different fonts to choose from to really customize it. And with the Pro version, if you, let's say you have a style guide and you have a specific font that you're looking to use and you need to use for anything that you're creating, then you do have the ability to upload your own font or another font that you have downloaded from online, and you can go ahead and upload that. So for example, these first three fonts are ones that I have uploaded myself so that I can use to customize it and make it my own. Of course, you can change font size, and you can also hyperlink items. So if you can If you want to hyperlink text or if you want to hyperlink an object, it's going to be available to you as long as you see this hyperlink option with that object or that text. So let's say we needed to hyperlink this respiratory system text. Then all you would need to do is click on the hyperlink, and then you'll see that you can enter the link and apply it to the text. Now, this is a great way to make your visual interactive and engaging to anyone who is looking to consume it. The one thing that you do need to keep in mind is that you'll want to determine how you'll be sharing your visual with your audience. And so, for example, if you are looking to share an image, like a JPEG image of your visual or PNG file, then the links are not going to work. So it may not be a good idea to put the hyperlinks or even bother with it at that point. However, if you are going to be embedding your visual or your infographic into your website, and I will show you how you can do that a little bit later through our sharing tool, is that you can go ahead and embed your visual, and by embedding your visual, then the hyperlinks will work in your visual and in your infographic right from your website. Now, you may have your own blog or your company website. Educators, you may have your classroom website, or you may have a learning management system that you might be using that allows you to embed code and put a visual in there, and so the hyperlinks will work in that way. So you'll want to keep that in mind. And then also, I want to point out that objects can also be hyperlinked. So this image here, of course, of the surgeon, just click on it and you'll see all of the different options that you have to customize this particular object. But you'll see here that you have the ability to hyperlink the image as well. Another thing that you may want to keep in mind when you're creating your visual is that if you are going to be embedding links, then you're going to want to have some way to notify your audience or your students who might be consuming your infographic or your visual that it is interactive and that you can actually click on the objects or the images. Sometimes it stands out and you can make sense of it, but it's a really good idea to just maybe make mention of it somewhere on your infographic so that people know that you can go ahead and engage with it. Okay, so I am going to stop here. I've been talking a lot. I just want to check in with the group and see where we're at, check in with Latasha and see if there are any questions that need to get addressed here. I think Latasha seems to be on top of it. I see her responding quite a bit, so it looks good. Okay, so how do you change the text? So if you click on the text here, you'll see that you can go ahead and edit the text. You'll want to double click on it. And you'll see that you can go ahead and see that the text has been updated. And of course, once you click on the text that you're working with, all of the tools in the gray and white banner that appear are tools that you can go ahead and update. Now, if you want to add text to your infographic and you need to add text to this template, then if you take a look in this menu here, there is a button for text, and this will allow you to add your title, your header, your body. If you need to add bullets or you need to add a numbered list or an outline for your infographic or your visual, then you have the ability to do that. Again, it's all drag and drop. So if I needed to add a title, you'll see that you'll get an image here that says double click to change the text. Just go ahead and double click on it and you'll see that you can go ahead and change that text. Now, also, I'll just show you the bullets as an example. I'll go ahead and drag the bullets, and same thing, of course, just go ahead and double click on it and you'll be able to go ahead and change that text. So I hope that answers your question there. Let me go ahead and delete that. Thank you for your question. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and keep moving along, as I know that there's quite a few more things that I'd like to show and work through here. Now the objects. Now the objects is a great way to be able to add some additional objects to your infographic. With the basic version, you will have access to a handful of objects that you can add, but really, again, the power of Easly is in having the library of objects that you can work with. So for example, if I needed to add something like food objects, I can go ahead and select food. And again, I have the pro version, and I have about 54 pages worth of food objects that I can work with. And as you continue to scroll through this library, of course, it'll refresh and you'll continue to get objects that you can add. You'll see that there's a variety of different styles that you can choose from. I highly recommend that you try to stay with objects that are consistent and work well with each other. So once you kind of start to work with a certain style of objects, that you consistently try to work with that or match the objects so that your visual all is cohesive. Okay. Once you find objects that you want to add, all you need to do is drag and drop them onto your canvas, and you'll see that they get added very easily. And once you click on your object, you can go ahead and resize it as needed by grabbing the corners. And you can also position it. You can move it to the back, very similar to how we showed you earlier. Move it back to the front. You can change the opacity if you need to. So you really can work with the objects quite a bit. You can also clone it. So if you need to do multiple objects and you don't want to go through the steps of finding it and dragging it onto your canvas again, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so those are the objects. One thing that I recommend when you're working with quite a few things here is that, I'm just going to move this over to the side just so that you can see it maybe a little bit better. But what you can do is you can actually move all objects at the same time. So when you're working with your infographic, sometimes people move things one by one, but a nice trick is just being able to drag over the objects that you'd like to group together. And once you kind of have them set in the way that you want, and then you can go ahead and move them around your canvas all together at once. This is helpful when, let's say, you have 10 objects and you have them perfect on your canvas, and you don't necessarily want to go through the steps of having to move each object one by one. You can go ahead and do that. And then you can also group the objects so that they get locked together and they always move as one. And so you can always move it together. So for example, if you're creating a fruit basket, let's say, and you've pulled in a bunch of fruit into an image of a basket, and there are multiple objects, and you don't want to have to move each item one by one to move it around your canvas. You want it to look as one item. Go ahead and drag your cursor over all those objects, and then you'll be able to move it around your canvas all as one. You can also ungroup it, of course. So if you need to make arrangements and change it again, you certainly can do that. So you can group and ungroup and lock them in position. Okay, so another thing I'd like to highlight as well is our media. And this is where you can add stock photos or YouTube videos. And this is really great because with the stock photos, you may have access to some of your own photos that you'd like to add, or images, and you can certainly go ahead and upload your own files, whether you have the free or the pro version. But sometimes you just want to have access to some of those. So I'm just going to go ahead and do quick search for, let's say, a computer, and you'll see that you'll have access to all of these stock photos that you can add to your infographic. Now, these have already been paid for through easily. And if you get the Pro account, of course, you do gain access to the library of stock photos. And so you don't have to pay for any of these photos in addition to your Pro subscription. It's already included in the Pro subscription. So this is a time saver, and they're royalty free because they're already paid through the subscription. So it really is a nice feature to have. So I can go ahead and select any of those. Let me go ahead. That's one that I had saved here. Okay, there we go. This is the one I wanted. You'll see that I can add my stock photos, and I can resize my stock photos as well. Okay, and then you can change the opacity, and you can move it to the back. So if you want to set it as your background, then you can certainly go ahead and do that. So there really is a lot that you can do with the stock photos once you've gone ahead and selected them. And again, you'll have access to a handful of those photos through the free version, but again, the power comes with having that Pro version and having the entire library available to you. Now, you can also add YouTube videos. The YouTube videos are great because here, you can just grab any YouTube video that you'd like to add into your visual, and all you need to do is grab the shared URL and paste it into your infographic. So I'm going to go into our library here, and I'm just going to go ahead and launch into one of our own videos here, and I'm going to grab our the sharing link. Copy that. Oh. And I'm going to go ahead and paste it, and I'm going to hit select. And it might take a little bit of time for it to upload. Oh, looks like there's a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that. But it will actually display within your infographic there. Here, let's see if I can try that again. Sorry, folks, I think there might be a little bit of a delay in terms of it popping up here because of my sharing browser here. But we definitely have examples of this through some of our tutorials that you can catch on YouTube. So I apologize that it's not popping up as quickly as I would like it to. But you'll see that this is a great way to incorporate a video into your infographic. Now, again, like the hyperlink, you'll want to think about how you want to share a visual that has a YouTube video embedded into it. Because if you, again, are going to be sharing an image of it, then the YouTube video is not going to work because it's just a static image. But if you are embedding your visual or your infographic into your website, or if you're embedding that visual through social media or through a web browser, then you'll be able to actually watch the video right from from your visual. So again, think about how you're going to be sharing your visual, how you're going to be communicating your visual to your audience or to your students, and think about whether or not it makes sense. But it really is a great way to be able to share an explainer video or a tutorial, or I know teachers are using some videos from YouTube, or even students might be using it for a presentation or a project. And so you can certainly go ahead and embed that. Okay, so a few other things that I'd like to point out. Again, you can upload your own images, add your files. You can do that from the media button, or you can click on this upload and you can go ahead and upload those at any point, whether it's a logo, a company logo, maybe it's your school logo. Any images that you've created yourself and you need to upload it, then you can certainly go ahead and do that. Another thing that I'd like to point out is the charts feature. This charts feature allows you to go ahead and add data and create any bar charts, graphs that you'd like to add into your visual or your infographic. So I'm going to go ahead and select one of these as an example. And this is one that you can go ahead and update. Now, in your objects area, there are some static pie graphs or charts that you can select, but again, those are static. So if you need to add data of your own and customize it, then using the charts tool is the best way to go. Now, there's a few things that you can do here to customize it, and I just want to point that out. So you can certainly go ahead and add the values yourself, and I'm just going to go ahead and change these up a little bit for our purpose here today. And you'll see that you can just go ahead and change the values very easily. And I'll just quickly do this because I know I'm running out of time here with our session, but you can see that you can change the values. You can also change the colors of your graph. So if I'd like to change this to, let's say this purple or magenta color, I could go ahead and do that. And then again, you can certainly customize that by applying any custom codes that you might have for colors that you need to work with. Now you can also add rows and remove a row to your values as needed. And you can relabel these. So let's say we needed to label this instead of green, we're going to do something like, I don't know, Facebook. And let's say we'll do something like Twitter. Oop. Okay. And then you'll see that that will allow you to customize your data. Now, if you have data from a spreadsheet, you can import it. So if you click on the import button, this will allow you to import your spreadsheet, whether it is a Google sheet or if it's Excel, CSV file, anything that you're working with, and you can go ahead and import that data. Now, you can show the legend on your infographic as well, and show the labels as you wish, and you can go ahead and make those changes. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and close this out because I didn't really put any formal data in there that's actually correct, but you'll see that any of the changes that you make will be updated here within your chart, and you can go ahead and resize this as needed and move it around your canvas. Now, that is just one example. Again, you have, with the Pro account, you will get a few different options to work with depending on how you want to actually represent your data. Okay, so with that, what I'd like to do is I want to cover just a few ways to be able to save and share any of the visuals that you create here in Easily. Okay, so I'm going to go up to the very top of our screen here, this black and white banner, and I'm going to point out a few things here to you. So one thing I do want to point out is that there is the save button. And this save allows you to save any practice visual, any visuals that you're creating. I'm just going to name this one as practice, and I'm going to save this. Now, Easily will periodically say, oh, I have one already. I'll do practice 2. I'm going to rename this. Okay, practice 2. So Easily will periodically save your visual to your account, but it may not save as frequently as you may need to save any changes that you make to your visual or your infographic. So we highly recommend that you periodically and formally save your visual here, and you can, of course, name your visual and it will be in your library. Again, this is a good way to be able to find templates that you would like to use in the future, or if you find a public visual that you like and you want to use it as inspiration in the future, then I highly recommend that you just save it. Even if you're not going to customize or do anything with it, save it to your visual so you can access it down the road or in the future. Okay, now the other thing that I'd like to point out is the download feature. Now with the basic account, you can download the JPEG images and save it, an image of your visual or your infographic. With the Pro version, you do have the ability to download a high quality image in PNG, or also download a PDF version of your infographic if that's the way that you'd like to go ahead and share that. For those of you who might be working with sensitive information or data, and you don't necessarily want to save it onto the Easily servers for whatever reason, I know that some people may work with sensitive information. What you can do is you can export your work that you're working with here in Easily, and what it will do is it will save a specially formatted version of your infographic that will allow you to open and upload your image into Easily again when you're looking to work on it in the future. So if you need to save your work and import it again, let's say in a week or two, then you can click on this import previous work. And of course, it is a specially formatted Easily file that you will upload so that you could start working with it again. Going back to this black and white banner here, I do also want to point out ways to be able to share your infographic. So for those of you who might be working collaboratively on a team, or let's say, students are working on a group project, you can actually invite a friend to edit. This very first option will allow you to invite other individuals to edit your infographic, and you can actually have up to 30 people working on the same exact infographic at the same time. So this is a great way to come together and work on an infographic together. 30 people, of course, can get a little hectic with people moving and changing things around, of course. But so, you may want to keep it down to maybe about 5 people working on an infographic at the same time. But this is a great way to all work together on one infographic. This is also a great way for maybe educators who might be introducing Easily to their students. And before you start to ask students to work on it themselves, you can invite the entire class and you can all work together on one infographic so that they can test the functionality of the tools and kind of talk through how you can use Easily for a project or an assignment. Okay, going back to the sharing feature, you'll see that there is a way to also share just a link to your visual by email. So let's say you've made your creation and you just want to start pushing it out to a colleague or your students, then you can share your visual once it's completed out to them through email. You can also grab a shareable link, and what that will do is it will go ahead and create a shareable link and web browser that allows you to go ahead and push a link to that infographic. Now, the other thing that I'd like to point out is the embed code. We talked about this a little bit earlier. The embed code will provide you with that code that you can go ahead and embed into a website or a learning management system. So you have quite a few options in terms of how you can go ahead and share this. You can also create a group share, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because it's a little bit more involved, and it's probably not something that everyone on today's training session is going to be interested in. But if you are interested in creating a group, and this is very popular, of course, with teachers and educators who might be working with a classroom of students, and you want to be able to view the creations that they're making and monitor what they're creating in Easily, then you can go ahead and create a group by adding emails, or a student doesn't even necessarily have to have an email. You can just go ahead and create user accounts for them so that you have access to the visuals that they're creating. We do have a YouTube video that will allow you to work through that and get a better understanding of how that works. And if you need any help with that, then just contact us, contact our support team, and we'd be more than happy to walk you through that. Okay, so I know I walked through a lot of that very, very quickly, and I'm just going to go ahead and refresh my screen here. But I wanted to make sure I covered quite a bit of that. Now, I'm at about 45 minutes into today's session here today. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to pause. I hope I covered enough to get you started with Easily and really get started with creating your visuals and your infographics. Of course, there's other tips and tricks that we can always address, but I hope it's enough to get you started. I'm going to go ahead and check in with Latasha and see how our questions are doing from the chat window. And then with the remaining time that we have, I'm going to go ahead and see what questions we have in the Q&A. window. Okay, let me just take a quick look and see where we're at with that. Okay, so just a few questions, and then I will quickly answer them. And then I just have a few resources that we'd like to suggest as additional tools to help you out along the way, or just dive deeper into being able to create infographics as well as visuals for your ideas and your ideas that you'd like to share with your community or your students. So one question that came in earlier, and I had an opportunity to actually respond to it, but I'll go ahead and share this because I think it could be something that would be helpful. Someone is in manufacturing. Looks like Lori posted this question. Lori's in manufacturing and she's having a hard time trying to figure out what makes a great infographic that is going to be of use to my customers. Now, I think people in many different industries have that feeling. And I think that one of the things that you may want to consider doing is just take a look at some of your existing text-based communications that you might have, whether it's an email or a blog that you have, or maybe if it's just something that's on your website and you might look at it and think it's a little too text heavy. Think about how you can turn that into a visual, and don't feel like it has to be a really long infographic type visual. Sometimes just taking a paragraph and turning it into a visual is a great way to get started, and I think it will also help you start thinking in a visual way and seeing how other items can be turned more visual. I also added just a link to the NIST.gov website that just had some examples on some manufacturing infographics. And while it may not necessarily pertain to what you're covering at your business or what your customers are interested in, just getting a feel for how some other infographics are being created and produced is a great way to get some inspiration and also see how certain terms and concepts are being represented in a visual way. Okay, some of the other questions. Can you download the course? So this is being recorded right after today's session. You can come back to Crowdcast and watch the replay. We'll also go ahead and upload this training into YouTube, so it will also be accessible there. I've also done some other trainings on how to, as well as just some other tips and tricks, as well as some guest speakers. Those are all uploaded to YouTube, so you can catch them there, or you can catch our feed here or follow us on Crowdcast, and you can watch all of our past events and watch the replay there. So hopefully those are some few options that you have. Okay, what are the best infographics for products? Okay, well that can certainly vary, and I'm not sure if I can really answer that in a good way, but one thing that you may want to consider doing, and I think really it just comes down to exploring some existing infographics on the web. If you simply do a Google search and click on images for infographic, and then whatever product is closely related to what you might be selling, and get an idea as to how other people might be creating visualizations of that, might be a good place to start. Okay, so I think I've covered all of the Q&A questions, and I know that Tasha says she's good to go with our comments section. So for those of you who are still hanging in there with us, I guess the only thing that I'd like to address are just a few additional resources that could help you in creating your visuals and your infographics. So we have a free crash course in infographics ebook. You'll be able to access this ebook. We'll send an email that will allow you to link out to it. But if you'd like to go ahead and download it right away, if you just go to our homepage, and on the right-hand side, my computer seems to be moving a little slow here, but if you go on the right-hand side, you'll see that you can access the ebooks by clicking on these links. Here's the crash course in infographics, as well as our Infographics in the Classroom ebook. Those will direct you to the ebook so that you can actually go ahead and download those. So, and then they'll also be posted in our follow-up in our blog as well. So if you forget to do it right now, then you'll have access to that down the road. You can also catch us on YouTube. We are posting our webinars here, and we have some short videos and some tutorials on how to use Easily, and we are consistently posting content here. So subscribe and you'll always get updated with any new posts that we have. And if you would also like to catch our blog, visit our blog. We are constantly posting tips and ways to create infographics, and the most recent one we just posted was a video chat that we did with an English teacher, and she tells us a little bit about how she used Easily with her students. So that's really a great way to be able to get some ideas from others and see how others are using it. Of course, that's just one example, but just stay tuned to our blog, and we are trying to cover different ways that people in many different industries are using infographics or trying to create visuals for their ideas or their products or their websites. So I hope that all of these tools are very helpful, and we'll certainly send links to this after today's session. All right, well, with that, I know my time is almost up. So thank you for those who attended today's session. I know quite a few people have started to drop off the line here. Feel free to reach out to me, Dinah at Easily, and let me know if you have any other suggestions for future webinars. We will be creating these webinars on a regular basis, and we're always looking for new ideas and things that people want to hear about. If you have colleagues and friends who are also interested in learning more about how to create visuals for their own purposes, stay tuned and sign up for our webinars, and feel free to share this information with them. I know that we're always interested in training people and letting them learn how to create infographics for their own purposes. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.